but there were times I had to get him man-to-man.
And your favorite team that you guys love to face in your division?
Yours.
Yes, sir.
Like the games like you play against the Raiders, you might get 3 sacks. When they had Jamarcus Russell, which I did. So I got 3 sacks on them. I got 3 sacks on them in the first half, right?
Yeah.
And I'm ready, and they take Tommy Maddox.
What is going on, everyone? We are live in the JVW Solutions studio with another episode of the West War Room Rivals. I am Cory. I am your host tonight. We got the squad in here. I'm joined by Cody, Matt, and Austin. We are going to get into some Week 8 reviews. Guys, I got to admit, I'm super excited. I don't know about you guys. Denver with a big win this weekend. Cody, no crash outs this week, which kind of sucks. We were kind of hoping for a crash out. I don't know if you can do a crash out when your team's not playing, but I did see the picture I put to the group chat last night, and I was confused because I didn't see the picture at first. And then I saw something. Well, at least you were down by 10 or had them up by 10 or something. So, hey, either way, Raiders are back this week, so we'll do the preview tomorrow. Tonight, it's all about the review. Maddie, how was your trip to Denver?
Man, it was awesome. My dad and I, we had a great time. Thank you, Broncos country. You guys were great. For the ones that interacted with us, they were very welcoming. We even interacted with some of the Cowboys fans, and they were not as insufferable as I thought they were going to be. Great group of guys. I think it was Eb, Ness, and Walt. So if you guys are watching the show, hey, thanks, guys, for doing the interview. Great to have you, and welcome to the War Room.
I will say I was kind of hoping for the 80-yard field goal that they kept talking about. They kept saying, "Hey, Brandon Aubrey, 80-yard field goal," and you were like, "Okay, well, you're out." But there was that time close to the end of the first half where I even told my brother, I was like, "Dude, this is setting up perfectly for this kick." It's the first half. Okay, I get it. I think they ended up punting, and then later on, Dak threw the interception, which that's what Dak does. So let's dive into tonight, boys. All right, it's a great time when the AFC West gets the dubs. All right, we talked about the Chargers on our pregame show Sunday. Thanks to everyone who interacted on our Sunday morning pregame show. We'll have that new episode out for you guys Sunday morning. So we won't dive too much into the Chargers as we did that Sunday. So, Cody, go ahead and kick it off. I know there's not too much, but I know you got a little something to say in your Silver and Black Ops report.
Yeah, you know what? So the last 2 weeks been talking about the bye week. I think there's a lot of reports coming out. We're anticipating to get Brock Bowers back, Jacoby Myers. So we'll see how this team is. I know last week we were talking about what they need to look like coming back out of the bye week against Jags. Jags are a hell of a team. I think they are one of those teams that are kind of on the cusp of either being really good or really bad. Liam Cohen has them rolling pretty good, but I think there's no better test for the Raiders to see where we're at. And again, we've talked about this on the pregame show, so go back and watch that. But we talked about essentially like the play calling offensively, Ashton Genty getting more involved, the offensive line. So I'll have more on the preview show tomorrow that we'll do, but not too much today. There's a lot of AFC West stuff that I know that we'll talk about throughout the segments. But for the Black Ops, though, I'm just very curious to see the Raiders getting healthy. What do we look like coming into Sunday? But that's a preview for tomorrow.
Perfect. All right, so let's transition over to the next seggy. I personally know what my aerial attack would be, but this is Austin's segment. So, Austin, let's dive into Austin's aerial report.
Yeah, so there was actually a few good defensive performances this week, specifically in the AFC West. I mean, what Denver did against the unstoppable Cowboys. Dak had some turnovers. I think he finished with under 200 yards passing. Chiefs giving up that touchdown to the Commanders and then nothing else. But I'm going to go with the first game of the week with the Chargers. It was we talked about it being a big game for the Chargers. They were kind of losing their way, and I think the defense definitely helped set the tone in that game. I know Carson Wentz was out there with a floppy noodle for an arm, and the reports came out. Obviously, never wish injuries on anyone. Hope he has a speedy recovery and he's able to come back next year. But they held the Vikings to under 164 total yards. Only one turnover, but they sacked him 5 times. They hit him a hell of a lot more than that. So I'm going with the Chargers mostly. I don't think they were the most dominant, but it was a big game for the Chargers, and they stepped up. So for this week, that's why I'm choosing the Chargers for my Austin's aerial attack.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, it was weird because it seemed like every time Carson Wentz got hit, he was hurt, right? It was one thing. Well, now we heard he's having obviously season-ending surgery, so speedy recovery to Carson Wentz as that goes. I think what I was most impressed with was the fact that Vidal was able to keep the running game going. I know that doesn't have anything to do with the defense, but again,
Keeps them fresh.
Chargers were in a must-win. They had to do it. Perfect. Now you stay with the top, right? So Broncos obviously 6-2. Now you have the Chiefs 5-3, and obviously the Chargers 5-3. What's the kicker here?
Tiebreaker.
They have the tiebreaker, obviously, over Broncos and the Chiefs. So before we get into what you guys have, I do want to give a couple shout-outs to some of the guys on X, the Red Kingdom group. Thank you for interacting with our stuff on X. There's been a lot of interactions going on with you guys, and without you guys doing this, we're not able to do this show, but specifically them. I know we meant to give you guys a shout-out on the pregame show the other day. We kind of got sidetracked and went a little longer than we were hoping to on our pregame show, but that's just because we were so in tune with what we were talking about. So shout out to those guys over there. Make sure you give them a follow on X as well. And again, thank you for the interactions. Cody, what are your thoughts with the Chargers defense and what they were able to do in this aerial attack?
I mean, I liked them. I think coming into this, here's what I'll say. Thursday Night Footballs are a little bit of a wild card only because they tend to favor the home team. Vikings already were coming in with Carson Wentz already having a shoulder injury. So I feel like that offensive line kind of let Carson Wentz down, but it was also beat up heading into it. So I'm not going to say that the Chargers didn't play great defense. They did. They held Vikings at 10 points. And in fact, they kind of protected Justin Herbert. I'm going to check the score. I'm going to check the box score real quick. I don't think they gave up very many sacks to Justin Herbert, which on our pregame show and also in the preview show, we were talking that was one of the things that the Vikings and Brian Flores does really well, which is dial up the blitz, create a lot of havoc on the offensive front line. But yet that didn't happen. It seemed like the Chargers had a good answer for it. And I think Joe Alt coming back for this Thursday night game, he seemed probably a little bit more ready to go against the blitz or whatever Brian Flores goes. But I actually will say that I'm surprised, Austin, that you didn't go with your Chiefs, because for other than a second quarter touchdown, which by the way, like there was a pretty close game up until the second half, pitched a shutout. Not only that, but added an extra 21 points. Granted, early turnovers with Mahomes, but they still were able to settle in. They shut out the Commanders, and they really just put a licking on them, for lack of a better word. Like Mariota couldn't really get anything going. And I credit that to the Chiefs defense for putting that much pressure to create the extra opportunities for Mahomes, to create the extra opportunities for Rashee Rice and Kareem Hunt and all the other guys. So if I'm not saying that the Chargers aren't a good defense, I just feel like what the Chiefs were able to do against the Commanders, considering it was pretty close, was also very impressive in general.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and I know we talked about it in our
and I agree. I was honestly going
to lag.
Yeah. You're
There's
good.
a lag. Okay.
Yeah, there is.
I know we talked about it in our pregame show, and Cody, you had asked me, Matt, are the Chargers back? And I don't want to say that this was a game to say that they're back. They're not back. Yes, the Vikings actually do have a pretty solid defense. I think they're top 10 defense. Their secondary, not an elite secondary, but they hold their own. And I think for the most part, though, the Chargers just kind of beat up an injured team, which, I mean, again, they should have won this game. And I know the Chargers fans are seeing them, and they're probably saying, yeah, we're back. I don't think this is a game to say it, but Jesse Mentor, he did what his defense has been doing or supposed to be doing, and he brought pressure. They got to Wentz, and you can, Austin mentioned it earlier. Every time he got a hit, he's grabbing that arm, and I think it was just he was already uncomfortable. He was already frustrated. So your arm hurting, you're getting hit, you're getting frustrated. Jesse Mentor did what he was supposed to do, what a good defense is supposed to do, and frustrate the quarterback, and they did that. So, I mean, again, not taking that away from him. Strong performance by the defense. Justin Herbert, good game. He sliced and diced, avoided the pressure, made plays, extended plays with his feet. So, I mean, I got to give him credit where credit is due. But, yeah, I don't think this was the game to say the Chargers are back yet.
No, and I agree. And kind of the main reason I think I did go Chargers over the Chiefs, because it's been the last few weeks, their team's trending in different directions. And we know the Chargers are notorious for chargering. Like, that's been a saying on here ever since we've met each other. This was one of those moments where I felt like Chargers were going to charger, just given what they usually do. So I think the fact that they stepped up and took care of business, yes, Wentz was beat up, their offensive line was beat up, but like what Matt said, they still did what they were supposed to do. Chiefs were kind of trending up anyway. They've given up 1 touchdown in the last 8 quarters. Like, I feel like the Chiefs just kind of did what they were supposed to do as well, but they were also trending that way anyway. The Chargers needed that statement performance, and I think they gave it. I agree. I'm not ready to say they're back, but this is also a shade of them not being what they usually are, because this is a game that they would just typically fold, right? Like, right when you think they can come back, they don't. So that's why I think they just stepped up big time. They did what they had to do. And we can see what they look like moving forward. But I think just because they needed to have that performance and they did, that's why I went with them.
Anyone else have anything in the aerial attack before we move to the next seggy?
No, I think carrying on for Chargers real quick before we go on into the Crossfire is I agree that it was kind of a win that they needed to have, but it's one of these wins that I'm actually curious to see if this now carries momentum to get them on a roll, because their next 3 games that they have the Titans, the Steelers, and the Jags. I think we can all agree that if we're doing our picks, we probably would side with the Chargers because we trust the coaching. And I think as the team gets healthier, we'll go from there. But their biggest battles are going to come in a couple of weeks when they have a Monday Night Football game against the Eagles. And then they have a road game the following week against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs right now, if they keep plateauing the way that they do, they're going to have a head-on collision. We're going to really see if the Chargers are up for getting the Chiefs or getting the Chargers, or the Chargers are getting the Chiefs at their full power because they were injured when they played them, and also see where the Chargers sit. Like, are they still at the AFC West, like top of the mountain? Because since obviously their little slide, Denver's catapulted to the top. So I think that's where I'm curious to see what the next like 3 to 4 games look like for the Chargers before we say they're back.
They should win all 3 of those games. Okay. I'll be the first to admit, I know we talked, and that was one of our games, was the Steelers-Packers, where I was all on Aaron Rodgers. Someone over here was not, and he was right. Okay, there, I said it. He was right. The Steelers' defense is ass. I'm sorry, but they
weren't up for this award. They weren't up for this award.
Yeah, they my goodness. So these guys, I mean, they still have players. Like TJ Watt's still TJ Watt, Cam Hayward's still Cam Hayward. Like, they have the names. They're just so old now. Like, they're so old. And it's just it blows my mind. It really does, with how bad the Steelers defense looked. And it's weird to me, right? It's like all those years Peyton Manning looked really, really good. And then that last year in Denver, he's throwing, ducks. So it's sad. But at the same time, it's like, now it's time to maybe start being realistic about the Steelers.
Yeah.
And that's not my Crossfire, but we'll get into my Crossfire right now. It is from a team in the same division. It's the wonderful Cincinnati Bengals. Zac Taylor, what are you doing, man? What are you doing to the Jets? Like, it looked like you were going to cakewalk through this, and then you turned into Zac Taylor. No accountability, nothing. Instead, you said you need someone to step up on your defense. I get it. But let's not sit here and act like everyone knew your defense coming into the season wasn't going to be good, right? This is the byproduct of paying offensive players and letting your defense kind of just nothing. So Zac Taylor is the Crossfire this week. All right, and I am curious to get your guys's, and even if you're in on YouTube or on Twitter, let's hear your thoughts on this week's kind of a dipshit of the week, Zac Taylor. Matt, let's start with you. What were you thinking as you see the Jets come back and just make the Bengals look extremely silly?
I mean, a comedy of errors. I like to use that term. That's one of my favorite terms to use, and that's like honestly the best way I can describe it. It's just a comedy of errors, and it's like so many times they had the game, and who was it? Why am I drawing a blank? The kid, he used to play for Denver, went back to we got him from Cincinnati. He came to Denver. Samaje, yep, he breaks off a big run, and now it's like a 10, 13-point lead again, and the Jets just kept clawing their way in. And my frustration with Zac Taylor is he likes to think he's still in 2021 when they went to the Super Bowl. And the biggest issue with that is he didn't address his offensive line. And it's still the same problem. You're still having the same problem. He drafted Jamar Chase, and don't get me wrong, love Chase. I mean, best receiver that they've had in years. But your issue was your offensive line, and it showed in the Super Bowl. Then you get to the next season, you still made no moves on your offensive line. And it's just been like that. So he's not changing anything up. He's just riding and dying with what he's had since he became head coach. And clearly it's not working. And then it's like, oh, someone needs to step up. Well, it's you that needs to step up. You're not doing anything. There's no game plan. There's no scheme. It's like, we're going to keep doing the same thing, but better. It hasn't gotten better. And it's not. It hasn't. Your defense is trash. The one behind you is Dallas, and like that's not saying much. Like your defense is trash, your offensive line is trash. You have an explosive receiving core. Your quarterback's always hurt. What is the deal? Like something's got to give, man. I think Cody. We kind of talked about it in our pregame when we were mentioning like Lamar. Who needs to go first, Lamar or Harbaugh? Right. And this is one of those situations where like your head coach, the coach has got to go.
Oh,
this is one of those situations. It's time to get rid of Taylor and bring in someone new, get a whole new athletic training staff because this Bengals team may as well just have a first aid cross on their helmet because they're always injured.
Right.
It's aggravating because you have all this talent and you're not producing.
Bro, what are your thoughts? Because we were watching the game together, like we were watching it and it was kind of like, okay, well, this is just, the Jets are jetting right now. Like they're doing their thing, and then all of a sudden they keep popping into the game and we keep seeing them kind of claw back. And then we're like, there's no way they do this. And then Breece Hall throws a touchdown and the defender doesn't even try to make a play on it. And Mason Taylor really just reaches and catches it. And it's like, they really just did this.
Yeah. They let a running back throw a pass for a dude to get mossed, but, no, I think Matt hit everything on the – I do want to say they did try to address their offensive line by overpaying Orlando Brown Jr. I can speak for all Chiefs fans when he's not a franchise left tackle. Is he serviceable? Yes, but he needs a lot of help. For you to pay him like he's a franchise left tackle and not give him help, at that point you're basically not fully addressing that issue. My issue with them is – everyone they let go off of their defense to make sure they kept their three players. Mm-hmm. That's what it boils down to. Are they three really good players? They are. But, and I'm going to use the Chiefs as kind of a blueprint here. They've let some really good talent go so they could keep Patrick Mahomes and the protection there. Because what good is your team if it's built around three players and you can't keep one of them up? Then, you see what year after year. So I think they didn't make the right decisions on the hard decisions. Yes, Higgins and Chase and all those are fan favorites. We get that. And it's hard to lose that. But you have to do what's best as a whole. And I don't think they did that. The amount of talent they've let leave that defense for those three players and then not even to try to address their biggest issue, which is offensive line. I don't even know if this is a Zac Taylor issue, if it's, above him, whoever's constructing this team. I'm sure Zac Taylor has some input on it. They're just not ran very well. And I think we've been saying that for a couple of years. Each year we're like, man, they really need to make these moves. And then they do the exact opposite. And then the same thing happens. So it's almost exactly like what Matt said. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting better results. Honestly, that's insanity. And I think that's another saying that would fall into that. But yeah, Zac Taylor changing nothing, that organization changing nothing, and expecting different results is wild. So I'm going to be curious to see how quick they pull the plug, if they give Taylor another year, because, injuries, Joe Burrow wasn't there, so maybe Zac Taylor will rebound.
Mhm.
So I don't know, but something's got to change, and I'm with you guys. It's got to start with the coach.
Cody, anything? Because I have one more that's getting in my crossfire, but I want to hear what you think first.
Well, I actually was saying that Zac Taylor last season should have lost his job. The fact that he came back to me was surprising. And I'm going to give some points as to why. And it's not just Zac Taylor, like in terms of how he handles offensive play calling, because that's another ordeal. I'm strictly just based off of like whoever is coaching the defense, which is, by the way, I know he's an offensive guy, but as the head coach, you have to hold your coaches accountable. And I thought, so here's a fun fact. We just finished the 8th week of the NFL season. Did you know that Jets have only had one game where they did not allow a sack this season? And that was on Sunday. Denver sacked Justin Fields 9 times. Dallas sacked him 5 times. And Justin Fields has been sacked at least 2 or 3 times since week 1. Week 8 is the only game that the Jets did not allow a sack, and that was against the Bengals. Bengals didn't get any pressure to Justin Fields. They allowed the Jets to run 180 something yards of rushing offense and allowed Justin Herbert to throw for 248 yards. Or Justin Fields, excuse me. Justin Fields, by the way, sorry, that's a big difference. Justin Fields, by the way, who had -10 passing yards against Denver last week, you allowed him to have 248. That's a Bengals defensive problem. But here's another thing. Last season, this is why I think Zac Taylor should have lost his job. He also allowed that defense to lose leads late in the game. I was actually a proponent of saying that Joe Burrow last year had a more MVP level season than Josh Allen. It was just that defense that the Bengals had would lose games. Because if the Bengals finished 12-5, let's say, and got in the playoffs or won the North, he would have won the MVP. Because he threw for, 4,500 yards. He had 40 touchdowns. He had MVP-esque season, but that defense would blow leads of like 38 to whatever heading into the fourth quarter, go into overtime with the Ravens and blow a lead, or whatever the case may be. And the Bengals were having to play from behind so often that it was impossible. This defense couldn't stop a nosebleed if their life depended on it. It's the same defense that rolls out there on Sunday. And this is why Zac Taylor should have lost his job. He has been figured out in the NFL. As a head coach, he has been figured out. He is not novel anymore. And I can also point to this. I would blame him for Justin Herbert being injured this season because of the coaching that he allows that offensive line. It is not serviceable.
Herbert?
Oh, sorry. Joe Burrow. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Crashing out so hard, he's mixing up players.
Exactly. They all look alike. Joe Burrow, I can argue, was Zac Taylor's responsibility is protect Joe Burrow. The fact that he rolled that offensive line out this season, which, by the way, was the first season that Joe Burrow went into the season healthy, fully healthy, because the last 3 seasons he had some injury, something going on to where he missed, or he didn't miss any time, but he wasn't healthy. His first year, he goes in there fully healthy, and now he's out potentially for the season, depending on how his foot heals, because Zac Taylor and the coaching staff and the quality of play that he is approving. So that's why I'm surprised Zac Taylor still has a job. The Bengals need to win the Super Bowl for him to keep his job, flat out. There's no way on God's green earth Zac Taylor's returning after this season at all. In fact, I think this is the final year of his deal that he had an extension signed on post Super Bowl. I think this is the final year of it. So I do not see him being a head coach for the Bengals. And I think we're going to see him as a coordinator and some for the Browns, probably. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to keep it simple. They really should have switched out when Lou Anarumo was getting some job opportunities. They really should have had him become the head coach at that time.
Yeah.
And then let him, because you can bring in a coordinator and work with the offense they have. They never should have let Lou Anarumo go. So that's what I'm going to say on that.
So with that, do you think there was a team that topped what the Bengals were able to do this weekend? Because there was. Any guesses?
Topped what the Bengals did? Is it the Raiders?
The goddamn Falcons.
Yeah.
That is absolutely embarrassing.
How does
Raheem Morris, I need you to check yourself real quick. Okay. First off, I've been hard on Tua the last couple of weeks. If you've seen the Crossfires, I've been absolutely brutal on Tua. Tua looked like he was having fun on Sunday. Mike McDaniels looked like he was having fun on Sunday. The Dolphins in general looked like they were having fun on Sunday. Now, I get it. You can say what you want. Michael Penix was out. It doesn't matter. Kirk Cousins was still a quarterback. Let's not act like he's not a couple years removed from being pretty good.
And Bijan had 9 carries.
There you go.
Wild.
So, and I know a lot of people are sitting here, and again, this is the head coach taking accountability for the coordinators. You're the head coach. You easily tell your coordinator, Zach Robinson, who I don't know how he still has a job. You have the best player in football, in my opinion, in Bijan Robinson, and he's getting 9 carries.
No targets
against the Dolphins. No targets. Like, what are we doing? Like, you abuse Bijan Robinson in this game. That Dolphins defense is Swiss cheese. Like, you could literally do what you need to do. Instead, you go out and Tua absolutely carves your defense up, right? Achane, Ollie Gordon, all of those guys. Mike McDaniels gave those guys props with how they were able to run the football that game. Like I said, all of those guys look like they were having fun for the first time this season. I'm not sitting here saying that's going to catapult the Dolphins into something, because they're still the Dolphins and there's still a lot of question marks for the Dolphins. But if they can play like that against the Falcons, if they can somewhat have fun each week and those guys start taking things a little more serious than what they've been taking the first 2 quarters of the season, the Dolphins are still a good team. They still have good skill position players. I really like the Ollie Gordon draft pick. That's a steal, because he's coming off where just 2 years ago he was the best running back in college football. He easily could have been a first-round pick if he had just came out that season instead of going back last year. And God knows what Oklahoma State's, they're a mess. So I like the Ollie Gordon pick just because it's a little different than what Achane is. And then you have Tua, who, if he's confident, comfortable back there. So again, this gets me back to my point. Raheem Morris, what are you doing? You had one job, and it's not to lose to the Dolphins, who were just in a spiral for their season. And if there was one person who I did not expect them to top what the Bengals did, and they were like, hold on.
Remember how I said that Tyler Algier was going to be a really good fantasy play because I didn't think the Falcons would need to use Bijan? Well, the Falcons just didn't use Bijan, and I guess they really did need to. So I was just way off on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and put Raheem Morris on notice because he does play for an owner who's a no-nonsense guy.
Mm-hmm.
They've shown it when they let Dan Quinn go, which I thought was wild to begin with. Then they had Arthur Smith, which the jury's still out on what Arthur Smith can do. But they're playing for an owner who, we talk about it a lot. There's a lot of owners who have zero patience, and going out and looking like that against a team like the Dolphins, people are going to start taking notice. So I'm going to put Raheem Morris on notice right now. He's got to start turning things around, and it's easy. Not more than 9 carries for Bijan Robinson, please. I will say Kyle Pitts helped out my fantasy team. It was nice to see Kirk throw him the football a little bit. But anyone have any thoughts on that debacle that Atlanta showed at home? That's even worse. Atlanta fans are great. I love Atlanta fans. They know how to get rowdy, and just to put that product out on the field with the best football player in the NFL, that's absolutely embarrassing.
Yeah, I think this goes to we had a conversation on a previous show about this. I think this does come down to coaching because they came out like they weren't taking the Dolphins serious, which we got to be honest, you don't have to take them fully serious, but every Sunday you have to take your opponent serious.
Yep.
Bill Belichick always says you got to respect your opponents.
Yep.
Every time. Like, yes, the Dolphins are the Dolphins this year, but these are still some of the top, I don't know how many players, the top 1,000 NFL players in the world, like football players in the world. Like, these dudes got here for a reason, and they're still capable, and you still have to take them serious. So I think this 100% goes to Morris because the beginning of that game, it didn't look like they took anything serious, and then it got out of hand, and then they just crumbled. Again, another sign of coaching. So, yeah, no, I think that 100%, not even on notice. I think he should probably have that crosshair somewhere around his dome piece because, that was embarrassing.
Yeah, the furnace is definitely going, because you look at the Dolphins, right? And not just so much like, their talent and like the injuries and whatnot, but like look what's happening in-house. You got Tua saying, calling players out for not showing up to team meetings, and you got Mike McDaniels, who's lost total control of this team. This is an opportunity for you to beat up on a team that's like struggling not only on the field but in-house as well. Like, they're not focused, and this you should have just steamrolled them. So what happened? Yes, I get it. Drake London's out. I get it. He's out. But Kirk Cousins has played in an NFL game before. He's been under the bright lights. He's a viable option, and it was trash. Like, early 2000s, the Falcons came up with that offense, the dirty bird. That's what they were. They were just dirty birds on the field, and there's no excuse for that. This is a game they should have won, and they just did not rise to the occasion. So their slogan is "Rise Up," and they did not do that at all.
Yeah, and we'll get into like the point spreads throughout most of the games on Sunday. But Cody, go ahead.
I was going to say, weren't they rated the number 1 defense in the NFL?
They were at one point, yeah.
I mean, listen, they only allowed the Bills to have 14 points. I remember, I think this was a Sunday night game, or not a Sunday night. It was a Sunday night game where they shut down Josh Allen. Like, how do you have that kind of performance and then allow Tua and depressing Mike McDaniel put a 30-piece on you and not put up any resistance? Bijan only having 9 total touches of the football is insane. Bijan should have been asking for oxygen after that game because he was running up and down the field so much. Like, I think sometimes, and listen, I was looking at the box score too. At halftime, it was like 13-3. And I get it. Like, maybe some urgency. You want to come out and get ahead. But I think this is where some teams, and I'll point to the Buffalo Bills as an example, even though they beat the Bills. I'll look at the game that they played on Sunday night to open the season, where they were down by a lot to the Ravens, and it was just one play after the other. They didn't run away from the game plan. They played their game. So they got off the field, run the ball. Josh Allen, did things with his legs and threw in the ball and all that stuff, right? They played their game, and they found themselves at the end of that game winning because they stuck to the game plan. They didn't just go away from the run. They didn't sacrifice all this and all that. I need the Atlanta Falcons to figure out what they are as a football team. Are you good or are you bad? Like, Raheem Morris, I think he is a good coach. I just don't know what his coordinators are doing because they're not helping the cause. His defense especially, his defense should have pitched a shutout with how the Dolphins have been playing, and yet you probably sparked a little bit of life in them. I'm not saying they're going to go on a run either, but the fact that in the NFL, all you have to do is take care of business. That's all you have to do.
Yep.
Play your game, respect your opponent, take care of business. On paper, I guarantee out of 100 people that probably made a prediction, this is probably one of those games where 100 people chose the Falcons just because number 1 rated defense, really poor showing of a team in the Dolphins, and yet it was completely reverse. Like, oh, so the Dolphins are good, and it's actually the Falcons that are terrible. So I think this is really shocking. Like, when I saw this, I was like, there's no way. This has got to be a typo. Clearly, they put the score on the wrong team. No, Falcons just took a Sunday off, and it was really, really interesting to see. For all you Atlanta fans, man, I would have been throwing food on the field if I was in Atlanta and I let the Dolphins run me out of my stadium. So
dirty birds.
And again,
dirty, all right.
Like I said, I've been really hard on the Dolphins the last couple of weeks, so I'm going to give them credit where credit's due because, again, they went out and they just played loose. They looked like a team that didn't have nothing to lose, right? Like a team that's kind of like, we do still like our coach. We're still going to, we're going to do this. So, again, hats off to the Dolphins. Keep it up. Like, now you can start stack those wins. There's nothing saying you can't. All right. So, with that, it's the Seggy. It's the Seggy everyone always looks for.
It's the Seggy.
It is Matt's
MILF report. All right. So,
Matty, let him know.
Yeah, my matchup last week, again, I was very concerned. Denver's secondary versus the Cowboys offense, more particularly Riley Moss on George Pickens. You guys even brought up, Jake Ferguson, who's the leading tight end going into this game. And honestly, they held their own. Pat Surtain was out most of the game. He was injured a couple times, and he was out most of the game, didn't finish the game. You saw Chris Abrams-Drain come in and hold his own. You saw Jahdae Barron, his first interception of his career. and he's kind of like been in and out of plays, but hasn't gotten a whole lot of playing time. He comes into this game, and it's a tough offense to go up against, comes away with an interception. Riley Moss held his own against CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, he gave up a couple big plays here and there, but Dak Prescott, Jake Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, in total, 188 yards through the air. That is more than half, like below half of what that offense is putting up through the air. So to see them do that, to rise to the occasion, to step up, make plays, get to Dak. They sacked Dak twice. And that offensive line has only allowed 8 sacks on the year. To see them do that and to see Dak get benched for, what was it, Milrow that came in. To see that, man, I was laughing. We were having a great time watching this.
Easy with the benching. It was the game was out of hand. It's not a benching.
Let me finish my take. Let me finish my take.
I just wanted, before everyone started freaking out, like what benched. We did boys. No. We did boys. Our quarterback didn't get.
I have to do it because, again, except for the 3 that I met that were not insufferable. Again, shout out to them. Good guys. Cowboys fans are very insufferable. Whether they're winning or losing, they are very insufferable, and I just have to point that out. Dak was benched. Yes, the game was out of hand. Dak was benched. Ha. Anyway, they held their own, and that's what all you can ask for. Again, Jake Ferguson, 1 target, 0 catches. That was the leading tight end in the NFL. Tight ends have always been Denver's Achilles heel, going way back to the Shanahan days. That's the leading tight end. You held him to 0 catches, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns. Javonte Williams, everyone thought, oh, it's his revenge game. He's going to have a great game. 3.2 yards per carry. He looked like the Javonte that we had last season, not producing anything. Yeah, he had both their touchdowns, but he did not have the games that we've been seeing him have with Dallas. So Denver's defense, that was my matchup to watch for. Riley Moss against CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens held his own. Kudos to him. He's growing on me. I have full confidence. Well, now I don't want to say full confidence, but I'm at like 65% trust in him now. 65% trust.
Way to taper that off.
And I will say, I think you kind of saw the plan with Barron. Obviously, with Pat getting hurt, that may change it. But I kind of liked him being the tight end guy, right? So that could have been going forward. He would have been the guy who we're sticking on the tight ends to kind of help the linebackers out who aren't good in the coverage aspect of it. Now I know Alex Singleton was flying around. He had a couple good. He was blowing up a couple of the blocks, so that was great to see for the second week in a row. Seeing him, Justin Cernot had another great game. We get Dre Greenlaw back, so we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But the Broncos, and again, this is another post that I saw. The Broncos are the first team in NFL history with 35 sacks and 10 or fewer sacks allowed in the first 8 games of the season. So, again, what this defense is able to do, and I mentioned to my brother a couple times with Chris Abrams' drain, I was getting a little frustrated that he was playing so far off on good receivers. But at the same time, Vance Joseph's throwing the white flag saying, hey, everything in front. Play off, keep everything in front, don't get beat deep. I'm okay if they're going to take the 10, 12 yards, but I don't want you to get beat deep. So then now you start to think, hey, I love that idea. And if that's the plan going forward with Pat out, I'm okay with that. Okay. Because we kept talking. Denver's played good receiving cores already. We had to face Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, albeit with Jake Browning. So again, but this whole talk of Dak, I don't want to hear it anymore. Okay. Bo Nix outperformed Dak Prescott this game. Bo Nix outperformed the MVP, not our MVP, some's MVP going into this. Denver was able to shut that down. All we heard of, they're averaging this, they're averaging that. Denver stopped that. I know the sacks weren't there, but the pressures were there. Okay, we did everything we said on the pregame and in last week's show, pressure Dak, the real Dak will show up. You pressure Dak, Dak's going to make bad decisions. He made the bad decision at the end of the first half when he threw that interception. They're in field goal range. They could have easily gotten a field goal out of that, but they're pushing the envelope, as they should, right? You're supposed to be a good offense. Pressured them. Dak showed up. Dak made the bad throw. That's how you beat Dak Prescott, and that's what we kept saying last week. Go back to last year. Go back to the year before. Why is Dak throwing so many interceptions? when he's under pressure, he's making bad decisions. And Denver was able to exploit that. Vance Joseph, you deserve a pay raise. And I'm ready to see what this defense can do once we get Dre Greenlaw back. I'm out. Who's next?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it brief and simple. They did exactly what I said they would do. When a good defense has a bad showing like they did against the Giants, they always bounce back. Good defenses will always outdo better offense or good offenses, in my mind, especially a defense that was coming off an embarrassing performance against Jackson Dart and the Giants. I mean, plain and simple, they won, but it was still an embarrassment for that defense. That's kind of the track record with good defenses, great defenses. When they get embarrassed the next week, they almost always step back up. I'm not surprised with what happened. You know, Dak in that offense is really good against teams who are okay. Denver, however you feel about their offense, their defense is anything but okay. Their defense can easily, and I've been saying it since preseason, their defense at full strength can carry them to a Super Bowl because that's how good their defense is. If they start adding the component of forcing turnovers, because that's one thing they haven't always done. They've flown around and they create pressure, but if they start adding some turnovers, there's no reason the defense alone, as long as, you know, Bo Nix doesn't give the other team short fields or pick sixes or anything like that, this defense can carry them to the Super Bowl. So I'm not surprised with what Broncos defense did. You know, Cowboys offense will probably be fine more games moving forward just because they're not going to be playing a defense like that all the time. So, yeah, I mean, I said it, and I think, I don't remember if it was our pregame show or in the show last week. It went exactly how I thought. Dak would underperform. Denver's defense would step up. So I'm not surprised.
Cody?
Not much more to add than what you guys have already said. I mean, Dak Prescott, you get pressure in his face, he turns into an average quarterback that has to throw against an elite pass defense. Riley Moss by himself, 4 passes deflected. As a team, they had 12, 8 quarterback pressures or quarterback hits, and then 2 sacks. I think this is where sometimes I wish we had more detailed analytics about how often Dak Prescott was on the run or getting pressured, because that really affected a lot of things. And the fact that even Patrick Surtain going out for portions of the game and majority of it towards the end, and you rely on Riley Moss to shut down or at least defend a part of the field that's crucial, and then you don't allow big plays over the top, you really neutralize that. The fact that a number 1 offense in Dallas, you take away their number 1 tight end, you suffocate their number 1 running back, and you get them to be an average team at that. Like the team that we thought the Cowboys would be, which would be, you know, an average team, not elite, not whatever. They come in with arguably number 1 offense, and they go against a defense that has 2 pass rushers in the top 3 in terms of sacks and tackles amongst teams. And you get them to just create pressure. Jonathan Cooper had him running for his life. Nick Bonino was always in his face. And then you had that linebacking that was able to really defend that soft part of the zone where you make sure that Jake Ferguson isn't comfortable. Like, kudos to this Broncos team. I will say, though, and not to scare you guys, this is one of those games where you put too much confidence to where you don't take your next team seriously. You guys have, I think it's the Texans, and we'll do a preview show, obviously, later in the week. And that's a very curious matchup because 2 arguably elite defenses, and now they're going to go head-to-head. And which offense can play better amongst the defenses they have to play? So I think that's a really good story for, obviously, tomorrow and on the Sunday morning preview show. But I just want to say, like, as much as I see the Broncos really coming into form in terms of the defense that we knew was elite, now that offense and that play calling, the real balance of that play call was really great from Sean Payton. Really do the same thing because he hasn't really been consistent in that. Can he be consistent? So I just want to say, I think that's what I look at when I see this game. And next week, is Sean Payton going to rely on the run game, and is he going to rely on some even passing, or is he going to go screen game like he normally does? So I think that's another takeaway I think of when I see how dominant this game is. What's it look like now for future weeks?
He sounds like a scarred Raiders fan. Can never just appreciate what just took place and always looking for the downfall.
No,
I gave kudos.
I'm not, without diving too much into, because that's obviously tomorrow. this is a complete opposite defense than what we just faced. Quick game would be, this is a team you would do a quick game with. So again, there's balances to this. So, and we'll dive more into it tomorrow. But Matt, real quick, we talked a lot about the rookies in this game, and it was the rookie fest, the rookie show. Barron, his first career interception, Pat Bryant's first career touchdown, RJ Harvey's first career hat trick. So what did you take away from the rookies?
I mean, what a game to showcase, and another thing about RJ is he became the first Broncos player or running back to score 3 touchdowns since Clinton Portis, dating back to 2002. So, the first Broncos rookie to do that. So, again, especially after coming off of last week where he had 4 carries for 0 yards to this week, that speaks volumes about him and what he can do. And this is the RJ Harvey that Broncos fans were expecting when Sean Payton took him over. There were other backs that were higher up on the list. I think Travion Henderson was on there. And Judkins that Payton had passed up on to get Harvey. And it shows why. Look what he's doing. Look what he just did. So having him back there with J.K. Dobbins, that was great to see. Pat Bryant, he gets a lot of, I want to say, disservice because everyone comes up, all he does is block. He's only on the field to block. He's only on the field to block. He had a very good catch. It was to see it live, him go up and fight for the ball, catch it in in the corner of the end zone. That was sick. The way he just ran that route, got the separation, and even if it was a split second, that split second was all he needed to get the catch. And Barron, he reminds me of Bradley Roby, where Bradley Roby was always in the slot, and that's where he excelled at. Yeah, he got some action outside, but he excelled as a slot corner. And that's what I'm expecting now from Barron because he did very well. Like you said, he could be the tight end guy. He could be the guy to cover the tight ends. And, you guys had mentioned earlier when they drafted him, like you watched him stand up Scattaboo, who's a big, solid guy. And to see them showcase, and then it's like, cool, this is why we drafted him. This is what we expected. So it was the Rookie Bowl. And I got to give, like I said, I gave credit to the rookies. This was their show, and they performed very well.
And last thing before we move on, I will say I get it. It was the Cowboys defense, but I do expect Sean Payton to continue to let Bo kind of go a little bit. I don't expect the handcuffs. I do expect him to open it up a little more. We saw a lot more tempo a little bit without all the personnel changes, which confuses it a little bit. So I do expect to see that a little bit going forward. So that's Matt's M.I.L.F report. So let's dive in real quick to some league recon. Boys, we saw a terrible slate of games Sunday, and even starting Thursday night with the blowout. Last night's game wasn't much better. Sunday night game turned out, I went to bed, the Steelers were winning. I woke up and they got smacked on a little bit in the second half. So I think I saw it was 18.7 was the margin of victory this week. What do we make of this god-awful slate? Is it more teams are separating themselves, or is it, is it just there's a lot of bad teams? Cody, start.
I mean, listen, I think I'm just gonna say it's both. Let's be honest. Like, we look at a team like the Dolphins, who should have gotten their asses handed to them by the Falcons, and it was the complete opposite. You look at the Bills, who took care of business against the Panthers, which, a lot of us pretty much said. Then you look at like the Texans, who beat the Niners, and I think that was a bit of a surprise. But then you look at Thursday Night Football, 27-point spread with the Chargers and the Vikings. I think we're now starting, now that we're kind of like about the halfway point, we're starting to see what teams really are, what teams really aren't. And I feel like now the next 2 weeks, when we see trade deadlines happens for the NFL, we'll see what team is really in the market to really go all the way. But right now we're starting to separate contenders from the pretenders. And right now, a lot of teams that we maybe felt like were probably closer to being contenders are actually not really there. And it's the NFL, like what Austin said. You gotta respect every team. It's like we have some of the best athletes that play on Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. You cannot take them for granted. And if you do, you have blowouts like this, because it's not like it was a close game. A lot of these were blowouts, and a lot of it might be because We just don't respect our opponent, and they had us today. So I think it's a little bit of both. Like, we've got teams separating, and we have teams that are faltering. I'm just glad it wasn't my Raiders this week. That's all I'm saying. But
double-digit loss of the bye week, brutal.
Yeah,
that too was intercepted.
Yep.
Go.
Yeah, I know blowouts happen, but I think to just see it across the entire slate, I think it's actually kind of concerning. Your only truly competitive game was the Bengals and Jets. And that one wasn't competitive for a while. Like, you got to watch a Bengals collapse more than a competitive full football game.
mm-hmm.
Kind of concerning, because even you'd want your bad teams to still come out and be competitive. You know, like we talked about when the Raiders played the Chiefs, how the Raiders just came out and they didn't get up for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you still wanted them to be competitive, but I feel like we're kind of getting that across a lot of bad teams to where they're not exactly competitive. I think it's concerning. I want to see what the next week or two slate of games look like, because maybe it was just a bad week, right? Like, matchups fell a certain way. Let's see if this turns into a trend, or we just had a really bad week. If we start seeing a trend of it, I think it's going to be concerning, because, you know, as much as we want our teams to blow other teams out, we like competitive games, especially, you know, primetime games when we don't necessarily have a team in the fight. We want to see a competitive, good football game. So I think for 1 week, we'll just chalk it up to just an absolute shit show of a slate, and then pay attention the next couple weeks to just see if it's a trend.
Matt?
For me, I think it's just really, and it kind of showed, it was a lot of complacency and just poor game planning, and it was just underestimating the opponent. Perfect. And again, the Falcons and Dolphins, like, they were like, yeah, you know, we don't have Penix, but the Dolphins are just, you know, they're a can of tuna, so we'll just run right through them. That didn't happen. The Bengals, same thing. Oh yeah, well, the Jets are 0-6, so we'll run right through them. They're coming to the jungle. We'll run right through them. That didn't happen. And it's complacency. Even, you know, we'll talk about it a little tomorrow, but the last time Denver went on a 5-game win streak, Houston was the one to end it, and it was complacency. So it happens, and everyone does it. We're only human. Everyone kind of gets complacent here and there, but now you're at the point in the season where, like, we're going to get into playoff talks very soon. We're going to get into playoff talks very soon. This is not the time of year you want to get complacent, because now, you know, and Sean Payne talked about, you know, talking about quarters. You want to win those early games. You want to win those middle games, because this is where you're going to, like Cody said, you're going to start separating yourself from other teams and start making your playoff pushes. So it was just a week of complacency. It showed, and hopefully they bounce back.
I will say Denver does have a massive trap game with the Texans, because we know the Raiders are on the other side. Broncos country.
That's right.
I got to be honest, though, if not looking too far ahead, just a statement. If the Raiders beat the Broncos, y'all better not show up. Anyway.
Cody.
I cannot. Oh, don't get me excited, because now I'm going to start believing in them. And
because the crash out's going to be that much better. So please do get excited, just to be let.
We're going to get a double crash out if you guys lose to us. Oh my gosh. We're going to get
breaking news. Max Crosby goes to the Bengals.
What'd we do? Punish him? Like, why is he going to the Bengals?
No, the best video we could see is if Max Crosby gets traded to the Chiefs.
Disclaimer: Max Crosby didn't go to the Bengals.
Yeah, I was just me trying to get Cody mad.
No. He's not going anywhere.
He read a text at Crosby to the Chiefs.
First off, if Crosby goes to the Chiefs, Raider fans would go and pull Mark Davis out of his office and throw him in the goddamn ocean. There'd be no way that we do any business with the Chiefs.
All right.
Look at this hypothetical crash out.
All right. Back on track.
Oh, yeah.
Back on track. All right. Anyone else have anything on this whole massive 18.7 point spread? I don't have much on it either. I just chalked it up to there was just a lot of bad teams playing against the good teams.
That, and I would also say my last thing would probably be these offenses are a lot better than most defenses can keep up, and a lot of it could be because of the rules. Like high-powered offense, scoring more points. Defenses don't really have as much physicality to dormant an offensive team. Like all the athletes that we've had on here, Eric Warfield, Quentin Jammer, they loved playing physical, and it was a mental game. When you don't have that physicality, or you only have one team like the Broncos that can put that physicality, it really neutralizes an offense. I think a lot of these defenses that get blown out, it's hard for them to kind of fight back if there is no advantage that they have to be physical and impose their will on them. So,
yeah, no, I mean, you're right. And honestly, I would like to, again, I keep saying it, I need to get Carl back on here so I can ask him some of these questions of, what did he maybe see during the Bengals game? Like, is it, just certain things. So again, that's the nice part about having the former athletes on here is we can start asking them and getting their perspective of what are we seeing here? Like, take us into the mindset of the player, kind of like Coach Vermeil a couple weeks ago of, look at the small victories, right? Like, no one wants moral victories, but take the small things and just let the players know what they're doing is working. Fertilizer for the future. So again, that's all I have to say. And again, the injuries have been absolutely atrocious. And we have a guy in our fantasy league, sorry, Billy, who literally his whole bench is out or on the IR. So I think my brother poked at him again today. Apparently he lost another running back. So I haven't had a chance to see.
It was Pacheco, who's week to week. So
yeah, there we go. Before I get to this next question, Cody, I'm kind of sad you didn't even acknowledge my picture I sent to you about the Raiders signing Tyler Lockett.
Honestly, I thought he was going to get signed in the offseason, and the fact that it just took the halfway point, just like, okay, it's not going to make us that. It's not like we're going to the Super Bowl now. Like, it's Tyler Lockett. He's past his prime. It's a target for Geno Smith to throw it 3 yards. Cool. Thanks, man. Like,
my question is, why did Tyler Lockett ask to be released from a 1-win team and then go to the Raiders, a 2-win team? Like, is that really why you wanted
he
out?
doubled his win total.
Because 2 is better than 1.
Like,
he doubled his win total.
What a contender now.
Yeah, like, you don't think there was, like, the Bills may have called a little bit for some receiver help. You didn't want to go to a contender. You were like,
why? The Bills can just keep running Josh Allen and then James Cook and not throw to a receiver.
I just meant any receiver needing contender, right? Like,
yeah, sure.
Why did you ask to be released to basically move up like 2 draft picks of a team? Like, that was the confusing part for me.
I think this is why I was surprised he didn't go to us in this offseason. This is what I was thinking is like Pete Carroll will want to bring him because he's a locker room guy, and he preaches, Pete Carroll's philosophy and all that stuff, the culture in the locker room. They're going to want one of those guys like that. Like Geno was brought in for that. I thought Tyler Lockett was going to be one of those guys that came in here. So the fact that he went to the Titans first, I was like, okay, maybe the Titans wanted him more, or maybe he just didn't see eye to eye with whatever. The fact that he's now on the team just means that, like, look, Pete Carroll is probably just going to get more of his guys in the locker room to breed the culture that he's hoping to push. And Tyler Lockett was with him his entire career. So no offense to Tyler Lockett, but Pete Carroll is all really he knows and probably trusts. Just like Pete Carroll wants him to get in that locker room and really get these guys to buy into what Pete's doing. So I can see it for that perspective. I don't see him taking reps from Jack Besh, who, in my opinion, needs to be on the field more, or Trey Tucker, or Dante Thornton Jr. Like, I feel like those guys need more reps than Lockett, but I can see Lockett being a guy that gets people to buy in. Does that mean it's going to make us better? Hell, I don't know. We'll find out when we play the Jaguars, when we preview, but that's my thoughts of it. Like, okay, cool. Thanks, man. Like,
I could have said that in a text, man.
Yeah, right.
I've been busy, dude. I've been texting you.
Oh, but that's still kind of just like,
acknowledge me.
yeah, like it's big news for the
wrestling news.
He marked you as spam.
Right. Delete. All right. We got one more topic as we wrap up on this wonderful Tuesday night. And I just realized, friends in Ohio, we're not trying to take a doo-doo on you right now, but coach is on the hot seat right now. Whose seat's hotter? Zac Taylor or Kevin Stefanski, Cincinnati, Cleveland? Sorry. When I was coming up with this, I was kind of like not really thinking, but these are two coaches who they're very underwhelming. I know Stefanski and the Browns the other day, Myles Garrett did his part. And again, I was partially wrong on the Browns and Patriots game. Drake May's just good. Okay, let's just start calling it what it is. Drake May's good. Myles
Austin,
Garrett
you called it. I'll acknowledge Austin called this in the offseason.
He did. So we'll just start chalking it to Drake May's a really good quarterback. But at the same time, Myles Garrett had 5 sacks, gets taken out of the game, gets frustrated. I'm kind of on the fence of, well, you chose this, when in reality, like, it still sucks. He's still a competitor. He's still one of the – he's definitely a Hall of Famer. What he's doing is magnificent. So I do want to pose the question, who seats hotter, Zac Taylor or Kevin Stefanski? Matty, go.
I gotta go with Zac Taylor. First, I do want to admit I also was wrong. I thought the Browns defense was going to overwhelm Drake May, and again, Myles Garrett did have his game, got taken out, but Drake May is just good. I wanted Drake May if they weren't going to draft Knicks, but anyway, getting back on topic, I think Zac Taylor is just done. You've made no changes. You're not doing anything. It's either your offense is really good and your defense is trash, or your defense is trash and your offense is trash because of injuries. You've made no changes. You're not doing anything. You missed the playoffs, like 2-3 seasons in a row. You haven't really done anything since the Super Bowl appearance. Things aren't getting better. You're taking forever to sign players, and when you do sign them, you have to sell the farm to give them these huge contracts. And then the other players that want huge contracts are like, what about me? I had a good season too. So it's Zac Taylor for me. I got to go Zac Taylor.
Kaylee, Chiefs getting whooped next week. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, she's one of the good Bills Mafia folks. If you want to go follow her on X, it is actually Josh Allen's GF. So she is really a Bills fan, but she's one of the good ones. Even with that statement, make sure you give her a follow. You won't be disappointed. It is actually really good Bills content.
I only root for the Bills this time of year when they play the Chiefs. I do love Josh Allen. He could have obviously been a Broncos quarterback, but at the same time, what Broncos have done for Josh Allen. So kind of worked out for him either way. But Chiefs getting whooped this week. Absolutely.
Can't
Bills
wait.
Mafia. I roll with you guys. Let's jump through some tables.
Look, I love Bills Mafia too, okay? Like, even if we lose, we'll just beat you in the playoffs.
You're just hedging your bets right now to not root for the Chiefs. This is...
No, how it always happens. They beat us in the regular season. We beat them when it matters. So I'm okay.
Appreciate you, Caleb.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to get my wife to let me jump through the table. That's what I'm trying to do.
You just got to do it how Jason Kelsey does. He goes, I'm going for it. I'm not asking. I'm going for it.
That's true.
Yeah, the only part of Bills Mafia I want no part of is that condiment guy. I'm out on that.
Yeah, no.
But I'll go through tables.
I will say we've talked multiple times about moving to Buffalo.
We have.
I mean, it's
I've seen that they get 40 inches of snow every December. I'm good. Thank you.
Beautiful.
That doesn't bother us at all.
That's cool.
We grew up in Kansas.
Matt and I will stick to our California beaches. We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Beaches be tripping.
Either way. Yeah. Cody, who sees the hottest?
So clearly it's Zac Taylor. Listen, Kevin Stefanski, I think his time with the Browns is over. I don't think that's necessarily because he's a bad coach. I just think organizationally, especially to the ownership, the fact that you mortgaged your future for Deshaun Watson, which we don't need to get into that, but let's just say that it smelt shady, seems shady, and karma comes around. That's all I'll say. But I think Kevin Stefanski is a good coach. He actually had this team and does have this team competitive. I mean, you got Myles Garrett getting 5 sacks in one game. Granted, it's probably a meaningless game, but the fact that he's able to do that, I think is incredible. However, Zac Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals went to the Super Bowl not very long ago and one playoff appearance since then. The rest have been really mediocre seasons. And again, what I said earlier at one of the earlier segments is you essentially allowed your quarterback, your franchise guy, to get injured because of that piss poor offensive line that you have protecting him, who couldn't stop a nosebleed. And the fact that Joe Flacco still stands upright in it every Sunday is still a blessing in disguise. But now you don't know what you're going to do. Like, you have arguably the best wide receiver duo and an up and coming running back. You guys have a top 5 offense, and I would argue inside the top 5 if everyone is healthy, running on all cylinders. But you have such a bad offense, or a defense, that it is negating all that. Like, this is one of the things where you can't outplay a bad defense. And that's unfortunate. And that's all falls on the head coach. How many seasons have you had to either fix the offensive line or the defense? And now both suck. Like, it is your time to go. It's Zac Taylor for me.
I think right now, I think both are kind of doomed, honestly. But I think both organizations are kind of the same, where they don't really do much to help. But I think one thing that Stefanski has going for him is I don't think he's lost the locker room. I think he still has Myles. Now, I think he still has Myles Garrett on his side. We'll see how this week kind of shapes out with him, pulling Myles Garrett off after he had a 5-sack game. I know he wanted more. He probably could have got more, but I think Zac Taylor's completely lost the locker room, because you continuously hear guys come out and say they want traded, they want out. I know Trey Hendrickson got paid finally after the long offseason, but I still think if he had his choice, he probably wants out. Logan Wilson, obviously, and I get it. They're playing some of their rookies on defense, which, okay, in a way that's smart. But I think in the end, as long as Myles Garrett is in Stefanski's corner, that's probably bodes well for him. But again, this goes back with the Browns. Why'd they do that for Deshaun? Like, that kind of set this franchise back quite a bit with all the guaranteed money that they've given Deshaun and what they're doing there. But I do like the pieces. I think Quinshon Judkins is going to be a really huge boost for that organization. So now you have your piece on offense that you can build around. Harold Fanning's been outstanding, so that's another really good draft pick. And then obviously Myles Garrett on the defensive side. They've got it there. So we'll see. But as far as Zac Taylor, like, he just looks lost sometimes, and it's the same stuff over and over every season. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if I have to choose one, I'm going Zac Taylor. But I think, if we're talking about whose seat is hotter, I think they're equally hot. I think that just because I think they're both gone at the end of the year. I do think even though Myles Garrett is in Stefanski's corner, Stefanski's supposed to be able to do something with the offense. I don't know what he's doing with quarterbacks. Like, at some point, you should probably just try to run Shador out there. That could be your last hope of saving a job. Because year after year, that offense isn't very good, even though you've had some decent pieces here and there. But I think they're both gone. But if I have to choose one, it's definitely Zac Taylor, just because year after year they have high expectations, and year after year they don't meet them for whatever the reason. I think Cody pointed out the big ones. Either your defense sucks, or your offensive line sucks, or they both suck. So I think it would be, if one, it'd be Zac Taylor, just because year after year they underperform. They don't meet expectations. We've used this word a lot. They reached the Super Bowl and then they got complacent, it seemed like. I know we were talking about gameplay, but I think as an organization, they got complacent after that, and it's showing. So, yeah, I think they're both going to be out after this year, but Zac Taylor, if I have to pick one, is the hotter seat.
All right, let's do some sponsorship shout-outs real quick. We are in the JBW Solutions studio. Jeff and his guys take care of us. And then Angie and her team, Emporia State Federal Credit Union, Showbook's Banking of Choice, and the War Room's Banking of Choice. Angie was our first sponsor, so we love Angie. She's great to us. Troy and his team at Field Ops, they do field markings. You want your field markings, make sure you go to kansasfieldops.com. And then Homage. I think we had, did we have another Homage sale? I don't remember, but we did have, I had my vintage tee on for the pregame show. Anyone else wearing anything from Homage tonight? No, he's wearing his George jersey, of course.
Always.
Cody, you could have wore your Victory Monday shirt.
That's true.
I could have.
Oh, but
I thought the Westy Bestie shirt was a nice touch too, though.
It is. Badger Barrel. It's been raining its ass off the last few days, so we didn't get a chance to use our Badger Barrel, but Matt hit them.
In a world of butterflies, be a Badger. These guys are awesome. These things cook really well.
They do. I actually did 2 tri-tips this weekend. Nailed it. And Badger Barrel was clutch. It came through.
We're supposed to have nice weather finally this coming up weekend, so we're going to golf, Shank Golf. Don't forget about those guys, and hopefully we'll fire up the Badger Barrel this weekend. Maddie, do you want to make the guest announcement?
Absolutely. So reached out to Super Bowl 50 champion Sylvester Sly Williams, and he has agreed to come on the show. So mark your calendars. November 12th, Sly Williams will be joining the War Room. We're excited to have him. I can't wait. And then also remember, I want to give him his credit as well. Jason Webster, former NFL defensive back. He's joining us next week, November 4th. He's really excited to get on here and share his story. So got to give him his credit too. But Sly Williams, Jason Webster, they're going to be joining the War Room. We're excited.
And I know we started off where we had a lot of guests coming on, and it's kind of tailed off a little bit. It's more we're trying to build our brand still. Like, yes, we love talking to former players, but we also like to just talk football. And there's been obviously a lot going, but we're excited to share announcements like this when they arise. Because yes, we're still looking at bringing people on. It's just not a priority right now as we're trying to build our brand and our show. Killing it in the comments tonight. Thank you to everyone in the comments. I know we had a live on X right now too. So thank you to everyone who's been watching on X. We will be back tomorrow with our week 9 preview. It's a huge matchup for the Chiefs this weekend, so we're going to dive into that. That's probably the matchup of the week. Chiefs Bills usually is. So, boys, you got anything before we roll out?
We're going to be joining the Bills people tomorrow.
We are. So, do you happen to know who? Since you set this one up.
I do happen to know who it is, but I don't want to get the name wrong, so I'm going to look it up real quick. It'll be the Step Brothers podcast, I believe is what their personal page is called, but I believe I'm trying to get to his profile here. They're part of, what is it? Not the Hockey Network. They are part of the Buffalo Fan Base Network. We're excited to join with them. We know Chiefs-Bills matchup kind of turned into a rivalry. I can't speak to it from the Bills Mafia side. Hopefully to dive into that tomorrow. But I know for us and a lot of Chiefs Kingdom, we actually love Bills Mafia and the Bills, and we actually enjoy this game because honestly, Bills are just a very likable fan base. Let's be honest. Like, are you really mad people jump through tables? No. But we're excited. We're going to be joining them tomorrow. We'll still be streaming through our links and everything, so you'll still be able to watch us. But it'll be Step Brother Sports, part of the Bills fan base. So excited to do that tomorrow, normal time and everything.
And we'll still have our preview show. So, and then obviously we will have our second edition of our Sunday morning pregame show, which I know we were super stoked about. Again, views on that keep going up. So make sure you guys are hitting the subscribe button. Please help us. We're getting closer to 200 subs. That's our goal here this month, is to hit 200 subs. Thank you to you guys. And we will see you guys tomorrow.